Hello.
Okay, we're live.
Well, our camera on the stove kind of
Fell down?
it did a thing. I don't want to touch it.
Whoa.
I tend to make things fall apart.
Okay. Oh, Biggie, we got you. What it is steam.
Steam is letting it loose.
Yeah.
All right, we'll just watch for that. Okay. Thanks, Ben. Ben is in the control room. He is taking care of us. All right, are we live? Or am I talking to myself?
Yep.
Okay, we're live. Okay. So our brine came up and it had a good hard boil for about, I gave it 3 or 4 minutes. Okay. Now, we are going to do a couple things in order, so stay with me. We may need to get another piece of tape over here, by the way. So the first thing we're going to do is get our chicken and our brine together. Now, of course, when you're working with poultry, there is a safety factor. We don't want to put hot brine on raw chicken. That's an invitation for some problems. That's not really the kind of thing you want to serve at your barbecue. You really don't want to do that to people. So, the way to work around that, while we tape our cameras back together, big container. That's a lot of noise, and I'm dropping a lot of ice cubes in the floor. Right. Sorry about the noise. And I'm sorry about all this water I got in the floor. There we go. All right. So what you're doing is you want enough ice in that hot brine to bring the temperature down to well below 40 degrees, okay? Now, a lot of your ice is going to melt. And I've seen a lot of brine recipes where people just say add cold water. I'm not really sure I understand the point of that when you can just add ice cubes and it's going to serve the same purpose. It's also going to make sure that your brine is well below the temperature where it needs to be. So give it a good stir. You're going to see a lot of your ice cubes start to melt. That's fine. And that is going to dilute your brine.
You could put it under the camera. So
well, there's not a whole lot I can show you.
Okay.
Yeah. See? Not a whole lot to see at this point. But you know all that salt that we added, which seemed like a ton, this is how diluted it gets, okay? And this is also going to deal with an awful lot of chicken. Let me grab the chicken. All right. I'm working over here because I don't want to contaminate my cutting board. So once you've got your brine nice and cold, now this is still partly frozen. Did you know that?
I probably should have taken it out.
That's all right. It's super cold, but it'll come loose. Daryl likes to work with gloves. They don't make any gloves small enough to fit me, so I'm gonna give my hands a quick rinse. I like that. I'm delegating already. All right, now once that's in there, we need a cold place to stash that. Don't you have another refrigerator out here?
It'll hold it easy.
Awesome. Will you mind taking that out, stick it in the refrigerator for me?
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna let that sit in the brine for several hours. I set a booby trap with all the ice cubes on the floor, just so you know that. We're gonna let that sit out there in the brine for several hours. You can do chicken up to overnight, but you have to kind of be careful because your brine can make your chicken too salty if you let it sit there for too long. That's not fun. Okay, now going in order because I want to keep my cutting board as clean as possible, as long as possible. We're going to start our slaw, and this is an incredibly simple recipe. I mean, it really is. So we're going to start with mayo. And you can use whichever one you like. I like how I've got somebody else picking up my mess. Sorry about that. I'm really sorry. So I've got, I'd say right at 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup of mayonnaise. And we're going to dress it up a little bit This is one of the simplest slaw recipes you can do. It really is super easy. So we're going to give it a little hit of garlic. And I should take the time to do pepper, fresh cracked, but I'm not entirely sure where it is. But I want to give it a good bit of pepper because you've got that creamy mayonnaise, right? You want something that's going to stand up to it. So I'd say a half teaspoon to a teaspoon of black pepper. And then apple cider vinegar. We're going to give it a couple of tablespoons. I might add a little bit more, but I'm going to taste it first. So about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And then we're back to our kosher salt. Now the kosher salt in this is going to do a couple things. It's not just going to flavor. I'd say that's about a teaspoon. I want another teaspoon. If you have iodized salt, use half that amount. Don't forget. So the salt is going to do a couple things. Of course, it's going to flavor it. It's going to make it taste good. But it's also going to serve to start breaking down the cabbage. One of the best, most delicious things I ever had in my life, we were making chow chow. And of course, you salt it and let it sit and drain. The cabbage starts to wilt and it starts to release a lot of the juices. So we had all those vegetable juices that were coming out of the cabbage and the tomatoes and the peppers. And it was so good. I sat there and drank it like vegetable juice. I swear Boudin has become a diva because he doesn't do this until we turn the cameras on. Might need to put Boudin back there and let him hang out with me. Or maybe he wants to go outside. Maybe open the door? I don't know. All right, so I've got a head of cabbage. You can do all kinds of fancy whatever. I don't. I don't do fancy, if y'all can't see. You need chickens. We need chickens over here because I have all this awesome stuff I normally give to the chickens at my house, and I'm just throwing it away. You don't want this hardcore in the middle. This stuff, this gets really hard and tough. It's not going to break down and get nice. So just take the rest of your cabbage. Oh, check for, I pulled all the outer leaves off of this already, but you want to check for that. That won't hurt anything. It's really not going to kill you, but nobody wants to eat that. So it's just a nice thing to do. So you could shred this, you can dice it, you could use a mandolin, you could use a box grater if you wanted to. I don't think any of that is necessary. It's going to get nice and tender anyway because it's going to sit in this dressing and it's going to tenderize from that. And again, we're going to taste it and adjust it for salt and the apple cider vinegar once we get everything together. Let me get rid of that one too. So this is all there is to it. I like this knife. Where was this knife last weekend?
I'm not sure.
I like that
that's a goes with that set.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, that's
I like it.
Some cutlery.
Okay. I like it. Now I'm just removing this piece because of that sharp rib right there, which won't hurt anything. But again, you want your food nice.
Cutco. It's a Cutco, the main shredding knife.
I like it. Now, this also looks like a ton, which it is. It's a whole head. But as this sits in this dressing this afternoon, it will wilt down a good bit. You can add anything you like to this as it is. I actually love fresh cabbage. I will sit and eat it with nothing but salt on it. So the only thing I'm actually going to add to this is some green onion. And I use green onion all the time. This is one bunch of green onions. I took the ends off and I neatened up the green parts, but I don't throw away the green part. It's really delicious. Tastes very similar to chives, a little stronger. And I just think it's wonderful. Plus it's pretty. So this nice bright onion flavor really wakes everything up in there. Yummy. So that's how hard that is, which it's not hard at all. Now as that salt works on that cabbage and it begins to wilt it, the cabbage will actually release juices down into the bottom. So you want to probably stir it 2 or 3 times. And that cabbage liquid You can always drain it off if you want to, but I like it. I think it tastes good. There we go. So you just give it a nice stir. Get everything nice and tossed together. And then this is also going to go in the refrigerator. Let me show over here. You can see it's nicely dressed and it's coated, but it's not soupy or, not too much. Now it will have more liquid as we go, just from what the cabbage releases. Yum. I probably am going to hit that with a little more vinegar and a little more salt this afternoon, but I want to see what it does as it sits in the fridge. I'm going to eat my bite. All right. That's one. Almost down. Let me do a little cleanup. And I have water back here hot. Because we're going to do some potato salad. And we're going to do a super simple, easy, basic country potato salad. And yes, I know there are a million ways to do potato salad with hot and cold. You can do it with mustard or without mustard. And you know what? I have rarely met a potato salad I didn't like. The only ones I don't like are the ones that don't have any flavor to them. And there's some tricks to getting a lot of flavor in there. So all I'm doing at this point, I may need to borrow this lid just to get that pot to come up to a boil because it just doesn't want to boil. So all I'm doing at this point is dicing my potatoes. What happened to that good knife I was just happy with? You took it away from me.
I lost it.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. You can use, two types of potatoes you can use in potato salad. You can do a starchy one or you can do a waxy one. This one is starchy. This is a plain old russet potato. If you want to use a new potato, that's fine. If you want to use the Yukon Golds, that's fine. They're delicious. It's what you prefer. So the russets tend to, well, it's an old-fashioned potato. And I think it tends to absorb the dressing a little better. I could be making that up. It could be my imagination. So you can take that for what it's worth. I did not peel them. You can peel them if you want to. I happen to like the way it tastes. And I like keeping the vitamins and the nutrients and the fiber that are in the skin. But if I were doing this for a party, if I were doing anything, where I might be serving it to, I don't know, let's say, like a ladies' luncheon, okay, or a baby shower, I'd probably go ahead and peel it. A little more refined. But, you know me, most of the time I'm going to go calling everything I make rustic, which is another way of saying you're not fancy. You're not going to fiddle around with your food too much. Now, the reason I'm dicing them, and you don't have to dice the potatoes, but A, they will cook much more quickly, and I don't have to worry about cutting up hot potatoes. So they'll be ready to go right into the dressing as soon as they're cooked through. Plus, they will all cook at about the same rate, simply because all these pieces are the same size. So it's a little easier. The other thing, there we go, we finally have boiling water. Other thing is, when you're doing your potatoes, heavily salt the water you're going to cook them in. Because if you don't, no matter how much salt you add to it later, it's not going to taste like a whole lot. And there isn't too much more, I think bland should be defined by a potato that doesn't have any salt on it. That is what bland is. I mean, that's just bad. And I think a lot of the mistakes people make with potato salad is not seasoning heavily enough. And now when I say seasoning, it doesn't have to be just salt. We're going to do a few other things that are going to put a lot of flavor into this potato salad other than just salt. But start with heavily salted water. That's your first step. All right, last guy. So you're just after pieces that are roughly the same size, and you want to, make it bite-sized. I've had potato salad where it's been boiled down to almost mush. That's fine. I actually don't mind that. And I've also had it where it had huge chunks that were too big, and that meant that you had a ton of potato and not much dressing. So I like to have bite sizes. Best of both worlds right there. All right, so I'm just dropping this in this boiling water. Try not to burn myself. And you know what? I didn't salt it yet, did I? I need to make sure I do that. So a potato from start to finish, if you have bite sizes and it's evenly cut up, everybody's the same size, boiling water, 20 minutes. That's about all it takes. That at least is the texture that we like. That's what we like in my house. That's what my kids like. 20 minutes. Boone will go fix himself lunch. Boone is so funny. He'll go fix himself lunch, and he will go boil a potato and eat it with a little malt vinegar and salt, which I think is really funny. And he's very particular. He wants it at 20 minutes. All right, so we're gonna salt our water, just like that. And 12:48. So somebody tell me when 20 minutes is past because I don't have my phone. It's over there. I don't have a timer. All right, now we're gonna get started on our baked beans. And
We are live on Thrill Billy Gourmet on YouTube.
that's right.
Just go over to Thrill Billy Gourmet or put in Jan Charles, hit her YouTube channel, and you'll find her right there.
That's right. All right, so we're starting our baked beans. And you notice I put bacon in the freezer. It's just to make it a little easier to cut because I'm going to dice this up. We have 2 batches of baked beans. So I'm going to put half of this in each one. And traditionally, people put the raw bacon in the beans and bake it. I think it makes it a little too greasy. So I'm going to go ahead and dice this up. And I'm going to render it some, just to get some of the greasiness out of it. Because I love bacon grease. I think it's a thing of beauty. But too much of a good thing can shut you down. So when you have to slice something or dice something like this, throw it in the freezer. Makes it a lot easier to handle. And I'm going to use this. This is it. Just like that. I think it's a lot easier to dice bacon before you cook it than it is to try to crumble it or dice it after you cook it. And baked beans need to have some of the richness from the pork. That's a traditional thing. But we don't want all of that grease in there. We just want the yummy little bacon pieces. So we're just going to cook this bacon until it's about halfway cooked. All right. Here we go. And we are going to render this over medium-low heat. Okay. That's going to take about 15 to 20 minutes. We have 10 minutes left on our beans that we have allowed to brine and then letting those sit and soak. We've got our potatoes. Those are going to take about 20 minutes. Our slaw is in the refrigerator. Our chicken is in the brine. Wow, we've already done a lot. All right, tell you what, I've got to wash my hands. I've got to disinfect my cutting board. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to show you this wonderful trick with the brown sugar and the next step in doing the beans. How about that? Do we do okay?
We'll be back in 10 minutes.